Namaskar. My guest today is a very special person from UAE, Dr. Arshi Ayub, who is a senior advisor to the royal family of UAE, and not that just her identity and introduction, but she is much beyond that because she's a multifaceted personality with various talents and various aspirations one can look at. At the age of 17, she started her business in trading, and her many roles we will know during this conversation. So, without taking much of your time, I would introduce her to you. Dr. Arshi, most welcome in our Now Bharat show. And uh, this is just, I was looking at your profile, and when I saw your LinkedIn post, the phenomenal work you have done, the education you have taken, we'll just go through that in our Tetate. But what Dr. Arshi is, that she calls herself to be.
Thank you. Thank you very much to Nav Bharat. Thank you for the phenomenal introduction. I hope I can live up to that word that you just described. Thank you so much for it again. I would just describe myself like any other normal woman would. We're striving to work hard, we are striving to make the world a better place, and we are striving to serve the society in the most productive and efficient way.
So, how was your childhood? I would like to start from there because we have the Western world, particularly, not I'm talking of India, but the Western world, they always think differently about the Gulf countries and a positioning of women out there. The condition, maybe we can blame to films or whatsoever, but they have prototypes in mind. But if one looks at your phenomenally good career path, all those prototypes will be broken. And we were talking now that so many ministers you have in the government and things like that. So how was your childhood? How did you grow as a child, and your education, your family background, that I would like to highlight on. Yeah.
Well, in I think the best memory I have of my childhood and me growing up is having an extremely progressive and future oriented father who didn't think that your gender is your restriction or your bottleneck into prospering any format of education, or for that matter taking up any professional roles, or for that matter capacitating yourself to go ahead internationally and learn a certain skill and do a certain job. So I owe it to my progressive father. I also owe it to my mother, who not apart from being a homemaker, is also a very curious female. And I think it is the homemakers who don't get a lot of the due and the accolade for be doing what they are doing, in order to ensure that they have children and they have kids who can go ahead in society and make a change. So it has to be first your parents, and it is my parents in my personal capacity. Growing up, I was always somebody who focused a lot on educating myself, ensuring that I do explorative expeditions, because when you explore yourself, you're exploring your personality, you're ensuring all of the multidisciplinary aspects of the world are able to create a skill set in you that is not just invaluable, but at the same time will fetch you well in the future.
Hmm.
So it has always been a path of self exploration to build a unique skill set that helped me, certainly helped me in my career. And of course, so that helped me to navigate in equity, in real estate, in advanced sciences, in biotechnology, neuroscience, trading, serving in family offices, in personal investments, in equity investments. So it has been a trajectory which has been very diverse, but at the same time extremely rewarding.
Hmm.
So I have to account it to a very progressive family background, a very progressive person in my family, and certainly also a very future forward looking government. The UAE government, I definitely feel this is one of the most pragmatic as well
Hmm.
as the most efficient towards female oriented initiatives. The leadership of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the UAE
Ji.
president, has been extremely focused on emancipation of women, liberation of women's in terms of not just sector specific, but in terms of taking the helm of government initiatives. So a government as well as a family and a society is responsible for a female prospering. And
Correct.
definitely that has been for me in my personal capacity.
You have special ties with India, like, you have roots with India. I would like to know that, because for our audiences, of course. And the ties are, on a government level, on a trade level, everything level, but you have personal ties with India too.
Yes, of course. I'm a very proud daughter of a very proud Indian father. And India has always been a very strong, not just a strong, but a very special friend of the UAE. And with the leadership of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, UAE President, and Prime Minister Modi, has only risen from strength to strength in the last couple of years. The evidence of that is the frequent visitation of the heads of governments in both the countries, and more importantly, the friendship that is shared by most the nations. Initiatives are always an outcome of the friendship that is shared by the government, and the love and affection that has been a byproduct of that. For sure, this is a great time to be an Indian in the UAE, and also an Emirati in India, because of the affection that is shared by both the
Right.
nations. The bilateral ties have been extremely strong, and
Mhm.
it intends to become even stronger in the times to come. The UAE hosts nearly 3.5 million Indians,
Mhm.
and we just recently also saw the Emirati investment in India, in certain parts of India, whether it's in trade or port management, or for that matter, estate. There's massive influx of individuals, investments, and also associations in both the countries vis-a-vis the nation's interest and the nation's, I think, agenda to advance intellectual
Intellectually.
exchange of human beings, also for knowledge and initiatives that are focused on trade, investment, women, youth, justice, and finally, in terms of the prosperity, overall holistic prosperity of society.
Yeah, because I have seen that, looking at your personal profile also, the the company name, both the company names really fascinate me. Trust with
Trade.
Trade and Oxygenate. The names chosen are so symbolic that they really express the deeper meaning, the deeper philosophy behind the business, right? So, how did they come to you?
Well, Trust with Trade is not my brainchild. It is the brainchild of my father. I
Yeah.
think every trade activity that you instill or take up is always there has to be a very large component of trust, because it is that character that makes the person, and you need to have a very strong, trustworthy character in order to also cultivate strong business relationships.
Hmm.
Because business is all about people. It is about how well you manage people and their sentiments. It is very important to keep that in mind when you're running a business. So, trust and a good character, as well as long sustainable relationships, require good people to run them. So, this is the reason why it is the brainchild I fully accounted to my father.
Hmm.
Oxygenate is another brainchild of the family. It is held by
Hmm.
the family. When, as a family, we are a very green family.
Hmm.
So, a natural investment in bioengineered species, which are focusing on renewable energy, carbon sequestration, temperature reduction, massive regenerative, sustainable, utility driven products. This comes from a very specific kind of a clone that we invested, and Oxygenate is the company. As a company, we saw strength to strength, because we were awarded second after the UAE Ministry of Presidential Affairs gave us the massive honor.
Hmm.
After award, the second awardee was us, and the first awardee was His
Right.
Highness Sheikh Mohammed Rashid Al Maktoum, the ruler of
Hmm.
Dubai.
Hmm.
So I take immense pride in the love and the receptibility that the government has given, because they understand future oriented initiatives. They are extremely pragmatic in their approach to not just foster innovation, but ensure that innovation is implemented for the greater good of society.
Hmm.
So, Oxygenate is that, and we hope that projects of not just social good, but intelligent species are taken up worldwide. It is also a coalition of an Indian scientist, as well
Yeah.
as a company which is UAE born. So again, where there you see a very strong Indian Emirati connect.
Correct. And another thing, because the ties, business ties, trade ties, and bilateral human to human connect ties, we can see growing gradually over the past decade. The biggest thing recently happened, which for India it matters a lot, is having a biggest one of the biggest temples there, and you have written a beautiful post about it, resonating the sentiment of any common Indian, as well as the gesture that UAE has shown. So I would like to hear from you about the entire thing, what you feel beyond your posts. Yeah.
Very specifically, so the Hindu temple and the beautiful inauguration of the Hindu temple, largest Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi, is
Yeah.
a beacon of not just tolerance and coexistence, but this special bond that is shared between the two nations, and UAE's commitment to tolerance, UAE's commitment to diversity and respect for diversity. It is the diversity that helps us grow in life. It is the diversity and the respect that we advance towards each other's religions and faiths and ethnicities that helps us become better human beings, that helps us become better economies, and that helps our society to grow massively. So this is a very beautiful example of the relationship that is shared by both the nations. And I deeply congratulate the management of the Hindu temple, and of course the massive beautiful sentiments attached to the temple, because we deeply respect that.
Hmm.
And we are hoping that the initiatives of religious tolerance can also advance in the times to come.
Correct, because that's the, when there is a peace, there is prosperity. When there is peace, human beings uh, are they grow, they live longer, they stay happy. And one thing, I loved a lot is UAE having Ministry of Happiness. So that is something I would like to talk. I'd like to hear from you about the having some few ministries which are headed by women as their cabinet ministers, and which are like uniquely positioned, which I haven't heard back home.
Definitely, in terms of the female representation in the UAE government, it is the second highest in the world,
Hmm.
with a critical portfolio such as climate change, food security, tolerance, coexistence, justice, international cooperation, advanced sciences, education. These are some very critical industries that serve our society in a very deep capacity, and these are headed by women in the country. For sure, the reason why they are headed by women in the country is because of the merit they bring to the table,
Hmm.
and not because of the gender. So this is
Right.
the reason why we have to promote more and more merit on the table. If any specific individual is able to bring deep merit onto the designation that they are being allotted, it is beneficial for the society. So our focus, I think, even in a specific office official capacity, and also in terms of government, I can specifically say that this government is very focused on merit. And if you are meritorious and you're bringing value to the table, then definitely there is a massive seat to take, and there is a massive capacity in which you can implement those solutions also. Happiness, tolerance, justice, these are intangible imperatives of the
Yeah.
society.
Yeah.
These add to the GDP of the country. There are more
Hmm.
than 200 nationalities that reside in the nation. Everybody be safe, stable, secure, and having a equitable representation in society is a very important aspect for this society to prosper. So happiness, tolerance, and these intangible aspects of society are extremely critical to the government.
Correct, because intangibles are those which are really not quantifiable, that they can be just felt. And uh, you went to Oxford, so how was your experience there? Because it's all together, getting admission there and then learning there, and then your the subject was also very different, the public
Policy
policy
economics.
economy.
Um, in terms of education, and of course, I personally also believe that different locales, when you pursue academic expeditions into different countries, and for that matter actually different experiences that you undertake in different nations, these deeply help your skill building capacity. Education not just teaches you to learn different things, but also helps you to implement them in the most effective way. So it has been a very enriching experience for me to live and educate myself in different countries. But of course, I also encourage young girls and young men and women, and also women and women
Hmm.
at after a certain age as well, to continuously educate yourself. The world we live in is having massive changes, it's undergoing massive transformation. And in order to keep up, not just in a competitive way, but also in an individual way, you have to continuously learn. You have to move out of your comfort zone. I am not a scientist, but I am ensuring that my knowledge in neuroscience, or for that matter, artificial intelligence,
Hmm.
is up to date. The reason I do so is because the world is doing that. We have to
True.
keep up to the knowledge and the academic institutions that are offering this kind of specific knowledge. And as individuals, like they say in every religion,
Hmm.
one life is small enough to gain knowledge. You can
Yeah.
continuously learn. You can always have these experiences, you have to go out of your home, out of your nations, out of your countries to educate yourselves. Take this as a very important aspect of your growing up and your personality.
Another thing is, economic ties between UAE and India. And I recently read about Bharat Mart. Okay, sounds a very very big initiative, which can which can help growing a very symbiotic relation between both the nations. And I would like to hear from you.
I think this initiative is an extremely critical initiative that's going to promote the trade multifold into the nation back and forth, because we see this huge influx of not just made in India products but
Hmm.
also made in the UAE. And this relationship will serve many small and medium term businesses and also first time entrepreneurs who want to explore the Gulf
Hmm. Hmm.
markets by keeping a very strong base in the UAE and then advancing their work through the European Union and the Western world. So this will just not be a gateway to the Gulf, but a gateway to the world,
World.
Bharat Mart. And
Hmm.
definitely Prime Minister Modi and His Highness Sheikh Mohammed Rashid Al Maktoum, the Prime Minister of the UAE, inaugurated this when at the last visit of Prime Minister Modi during the inauguration of
Yes,
the
of the
Hindu
temple.
temple.
Yeah.
This has been a very not just a productive agenda, but also very monumental
Hmm.
in terms of promoting entrepreneurship and trade in the countries.
Another thing is, being associated with the royal family and being senior advisor. How do you look at because then in a way you are part of policy making also, because you get that access. Uh, Back home here in India, now they are promoting the small businessman in a big way. Easy loans, betterment of women. We are talking of Swachh Bharat, like cleanliness and so many things. So, what are the priorities for UAE when it comes to uh, acceleration of business, trade, etc.?
I think the UAE government has laid out a very pragmatic agenda in terms of their core and the crucial points that they focus on. Definitely, sustainability today is a very important aspect that both the
Yeah.
nations share. It's a commonality between UAE and India, and this is also the second year of sustainability. With
Hmm.
last year, 2023 was also the year of sustainability. The UAE president takes this extremely important to ensure that all our practices and all the products, trade, investments should be in a format that is serving the environment and not the other way around. Sustainability is a deep agenda.
Hmm.
Education is a very massive agenda.
Hmm.
A financial empowerment of women is an extremely important agenda. We have a huge influx of female entrepreneurs who not just manage wealth but also are finding innovative ways to invest wealth. Remember that it is decent to earn easily in the country, but the investment of your own personal wealth is a very key agenda, and
Hmm.
government is ensuring that there are knowledge building exercises, seminars, workshops to help you invest your own money. And then of course advancing financial credits from banks. Women have a very huge priority in the UAE
Hmm.
government, and I think not only is it helping them individually, but it's helping them economically.
Hmm.
Women bring massive value to the table. They help the economy upgrade. They help the economy fiscally to improve their structures. So UAE government understands them. Women and youth empowerment is another key agenda. And finally, in terms of investments in infrastructure and advancing the betterment of your life, the so many people and the almost 9 million transient population that
Hmm.
resides in the country wants a safe and secure life for themselves, for their businesses, and also for their families who
Hmm.
reside there.
Hmm.
So reforms in the government's not just law, but in terms of policies, having more and more foreign investors come forward, move with their families, visa
Hmm.
structures, incentives, and ease of doing business. But the safety and security that is given by the government for all of you to live secure, stable, as well as prosper more in terms of your business is a key priority for the government. So these sectors, I believe, are at the core of the government's agenda. But
Hmm.
of course, even today, we have advanced agendas in terms of artificial intelligence, remote working,
Hmm.
and advanced sciences, satellite operations, satellite missions, space science. So there is a very massive agenda which is traditional but as well as modern in terms of moving ahead with the world.
Hmm. People here a lot. So, like we had so many kings, and yeah, so people are very curious about royal families. How is it uh, being associated with a royal family?
Uh, In terms of my own personal association and definitely in a professional capacity,
Professional capacity also,
the
yeah.
members of the royal family are extremely generous. They are very pragmatic
Hmm.
individuals.
Hmm.
They focus on the good for everybody. They focus on the gain for everybody. They come from families that have not just seen wealth, but they are extremely giving in terms of their philanthropic agenda.
Hmm.
The DNA serves giving first,
Hmm.
and then the commercial agendas. So, in my personal capacity as well as professional experience, they are by far the most generous, the most pragmatic, and at the same time, the most giving people of the world. A
Hmm.
testament to that is UAE's philanthropic aid to not just the conflicts of the world, but also at the time of COVID 19, the UAE served aid to more than 150 nations
Hmm.
worldwide.
Hmm.
Despite being a small country, despite being a country which resides at the crossroads of the
Correct.
East and the West, the UAE came forward first. The UAE ensured that not just citizens but residents and also visitors' safety is a
Hmm.
core agenda during conflicts. And apart from that, in terms of their philanthropic aid, the world knows about the 1 billion meals initiative that
Yes.
serves the developing worlds, India,
Hmm.
Bangladesh, Pakistan, the meal building capacity. And the UAE first gives into that grant
Correct.
themselves.
Hmm.
So, all of these initiatives are a testament to their nature.
Hmm.
And even in my personal capacity, I have known them to be the most generous, the most kind, and at heart, philanthropy is
Is
their agenda. Philanthropy is
right,
their
right,
agenda.
right. Wonderful. Because here also in India there are so many royal families who are still admired by people, though we are a democratic thing and the elections and everything goes on. But then royal family representatives you will find in government, maybe Scindias, maybe the Bosleys, and so many others. Uh, People are curious to know. Like I am more curious to know about you also because you are a lot of into reading. And which was the first book? Do you remember even that you read?
I think I was coerced by my mother to go on studying. When you're younger, you are into a lot of
Okay.
school books. So, but then of course, you don't like it in the beginning. I personally
Mm-hmm.
didn't like it in the beginning. But as you grow older, I think books are a incredible way of serving your own soul. They
Mm.
help you build knowledge. And I am the recent book that I am reading, Why Bharat Matters, by
Okay.
Dr. Jaishankar,
Yeah.
Indian
Yeah.
Foreign
Of course.
Minister. And I do buy a lot of the books that serve on foreign policy, economics, and
Hmm.
public policy because these things matter to individuals flat on the bottom as well. Why,
Hmm.
how the nations are functioning, what kind of policies, because they impact you on ground level. And it is important for people to also know what other nations are doing, the best practices and the next practices. It's important for ones to keep updated because here we are not here to compete, we are here to collaborate. And
Collaborate.
that's the agenda that people should have when they are sitting in positions. I take my position not just as a privilege but as a responsibility. We're
Hmm.
here to serve the not just the country and the people. We are here to serve the world. It is
Hmm.
the collaboration that is going to be good for everybody and not just for one country. So the commonality here is reading, but reading extensively, and also
Hmm.
learning, instilling academia that may or may not be relevant to my education. But neuroscience and advanced sciences have been a key interest of me in the last few years.
Hmm. Any particular genre you enjoy reading?
Definitely economic policy. I think that
Okay.
has been a very key interest. But of course, the growth of GDP and why nations prosper with the
Hmm.
kind of GDP growth, that has been a key interest. But of course, I'm also a lot into political biographies, the history
Okay.
of how things are, and the history of how the nations used to collaborate with one another.
Hmm.
It's a very interesting learning for everybody.
Hmm.
It's good to know, it's good to visually watch,
Hmm.
and it's good to also read
Do you watch movies?
sometimes.
Okay. And which movies? The Bollywood movies or because Irani movies fascinate me a lot. Like Mohammad Majidi and all. Like if there is a film fest, I'll go and watch in Irani movies. So
Well, I'll be fair with you to tell you the
yeah.
truth. I was on a flight to Malaysia just a few days ago, and I
Hmm.
caught the last movie, The Oppenheimer. I couldn't
Okay.
unfortunately watch it when it
Watch it
was in
fully. Yeah.
theaters. I
Hmm.
saw it in the flight, and
Hmm.
again, a very good representation of the times of the first atomic power
Yes.
in the
Yes.
Oppenheimer,
Yeah.
and a very good, well projected movie for
Hmm.
sure. So that was the last movie I saw.
And how often you keep traveling? Because I see your schedule must be really tight. And come what may, uh, women at heart, they carry their home, right? So the balancing between both the things. It may sound like a very cliched question, but then yes, it matters.
Well, for sure, it matters because I keep my home very close to my heart. It's very important for me to be at home, and I take that very, very close to me because I need my home more than it needs me. I
Hmm.
need to be at home to be able to relax, to unwind. So, staying at home and spending time with my family, spending time with my mother. I'm fortunate to work with my father, so I can spend time with him. But I also ensure that there is a lot of time given to my mother because not because she needs me, but because I need her.
I.
So, a home is something I carry very close to me. And in terms of balancing, the reality is that we try to balance. It's not always possible,
Hmm.
but you have to really prioritize yourself, your mind, your health, and the rest of the family as well whenever you're doing so, because as women we always tend to we go the extra mile to
Hmm.
ensure that we do the
Hmm.
right thing, but
Hmm.
you always also have to realize that we can't beat ourselves for everything that we didn't do right. It's okay,
Absolutely. Yeah.
sometimes it's fine to not do it completely, but take a step back and just unwind to be able to recollect your thoughts,
Hmm.
to understand and come back with a better
With
way
a
of
better, yeah.
performing. So a lot of people don't know this about me, but I ensure every day I make sure to do a lot of physical exercise, to
Hmm.
walk at least for 2 hours per day.
Wonderful.
Not only is it it is for fitness, but it is very important for my mind. It's for mental
Hmm.
agility
Hmm.
that I do
Hmm.
it personally, and it helps me. It has helped me for the last couple of years, much before COVID actually.
Yeah, because when I was going through your videos and etc., you take that time out to walk a
Yes,
lot. That's
now
what
everybody
I,
knows about it.
yeah. And uh, what kind of food do you really love? Because you must have tasted the cuisines across nations. So
Well, I'm telling you this, what I would have told you even off camera. I really love Indian food. I really
hmm.
like street food of India. I think
Okay.
it is the best, and the diversity that Indian food brings across, it is beautiful. It's one of the best foods, self-admittedly. I also love Turkish food a lot,
Hmm.
and home food. If you know me personally, I prefer always eating home
A
food.
comfort
Yeah, always
food
home food,
like.
because outside food is something you've had enough and you are
Hmm.
always trying while you are out there.
Hmm. Hmm.
But my preference always, anywhere at any point, is to have home food.
And in Indian, you talked about Indian street food. What are the things you have tasted, like pani puri, pav bhaji? What?
Pani puri.
Okay.
Pani puri is the best. It is one
Okay.
of the nicest, and it is extremely delicious. And I think the street foods of India are very underrated, but at the same time, the kind of wisdom and the science that comes with the foods of India is something that the world should appreciate more. I personally do that very much.
Do you like any Indian movie star or any other movie star? Whichever is your choice.
I like Indian. I'm a more a follower of politicians. So
Okay.
I think I deeply respect Mr. Nitin Gadkari,
Okay.
Indian politician.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Minister Piyush Goyal. I have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of respect for.
Mm-hmm.
We've met
Mm-hmm.
times in the UAE. So yes, I do follow a lot of politicians because the knowledge and the capacity that you can exchange while these conversations happen is immense. So
Hmm.
not movie star, but I'm more on the lines of
More on the lines
world
of this.
politicians and policymakers.
Right. Because, just to mention you, recently I was traveling towards Nepal and I went to few places, Gorakhpur and that side, and they were saying कि नितिन गडकरी हमारे लिए कोहिनूर है. That's what they were saying. So, uh, could you get to interact with Mr. Gadkari, and how often and what fascinated you about him?
So our interactions with most of the cabinet ministers, or for that matter, state ministers, are more government centric. So I do a
Yeah.
lot of public speaking in
Yes.
conferences. The last that was in the Expo 2020, and then of course with the IMA summit in
Yeah, I
Delhi.
must admit. Yeah.
There we have interacted with the ministers, and of course the Indian ministers are very forward looking. They are very
Mm-hmm.
focused on the India's agenda in the world,
Mm.
and they are making sure that all of the knowledge and the human intellect that comes out of India is well appreciated, and
Mm.
also at the same time their work is implemented correctly in the world. So I deeply respect that sentiment of the Indian government and the present government more specifically,
Mm-hmm.
because they are so focused on advancing their human capital,
Mm-hmm.
at the same time innovation and prosperity, not just for India but for the world.
Yeah, what you told just now was very, yeah, because the Asian continent per se, with the kind of ties now happening, the kind of trust mutual, and also the symbiotic relations, the MOUs, and the Bharat Mart kind of initiatives, which is like really huge. Um, are going to help the Asian continent prosper. Well, so what is there for India and UAE concretely beyond Bharat Mart? Anything in pipeline that you know of? Yeah.
Definitely. I think in terms of, we see the education institutes that are now coming up in Abu Dhabi. We definitely see another religious place of faith that is also coming up in Abu
Hmm.
Dhabi, already in talks. It was spoken of at the time Prime Minister was there. And for sure, in the pipeline to come, there is so much scope for collaboration in terms of human capital, in terms of jobs that are being
Hmm.
created, more and more infrastructure investments that are happening. So for sure, this relationship has no stop, at least, and I hope it never stops, because it is good for the world to have a stronger India UAE relationship, India Gulf relationship. It is good for the world, it is good for the nations, and it is extremely great for the people to be able to do this in the best of their capacities.
Uh, so, any media ties?
I think we are people in the public domain, and media is always a friend of ours. Media is somebody who not just helps you with the capacity building, but also teaches you a lot of things. I take a lot of learning from media. I take a lot of learning from institutions and individuals such as yourself. Media is a very strong partner of the government as well as us individually, because the kind of influence and the kind of capacity that media brings on board needs to be respected. It needs to be given more dignity, and certainly we do that very much.
We were just talking, and you spoke about the post that you write. You don't use AI tools because that heart to heart connect is very important. That human being has to come out, right? So, how do you find time for that?
It's always in between while I'm traveling. So when you're having some time in the flight and something that resonates with you personally, I make sure that I write it down, so that in my capacity, in my humble capacity, individuals on the social media who are following the post can understand a thing or two about how well the initiatives are, because there is so much of critique in the world that we forget to often applaud and commend the initiatives of not just individuals but governments that are good for people,
Yeah.
and they help you extend that knowledge.
Hmm.
So I make sure to find some time to voice that out myself in
Hmm.
my capacity on social media, and write it down myself, because there is one thing that I always keep in mind when I do that. Individuals who are reading this on the other side of the tablet, the laptop, or the phone
Hmm.
are human beings. They are not robots. So
Correct.
there needs to be a connectivity quotient with them when they are reading it. So I ensure that it is always from me, by myself, and not through any agency or artificial intelligence.
Uh, any personal dreams, any personal aspirations, that do you write diary that 5 years down the line I want to be this?
I think the world that we are honestly living in, there is nothing that you can actually pre-plan for that
Hmm.
long. But I definitely intend to, in a personal capacity, deep dive into law, in international and technology law.
Okay.
So this has been there for on my mind for some time now, and I intend to pursue this also in the UK, in Oxford, inshallah, in the times to come. But of course, I think this is an important aspect for the world, because technology is moving so fast, and
Hmm.
we need to know the backgrounds, not just in terms of education, but in terms of regulating it for our own selves. Privacy, data management, this is very important for every individual. We may not think this is so important, but it impacts everyone, even on ground. So this is something that I intend to pursue. I definitely hope it is in the next 2 years and not in the next 5 years. And personal ambitions, definitely to advance my professional agenda with not just work of the government but the companies, but of course to make change in the best way that we can, the most sustainable change that helps make a better society, a more productive society, where people not just respect each other, but where diversity unites us and not divides us.
We are people who grew up in a, they say that, it takes a village to raise a child. We grow up with so many people, but there are few who impact our lives, our thought process, and what we are. So, who they are for you?
I have to say, in my capacity, it has always been my father. Somebody who's always ensured to keep my head down and my feet on the ground, because it's very easy to get carried away with the chaos of the world. But you have to ensure that you are still a person on ground level, and you must always keep your head down, no matter what it is in life, no matter where you reach in life. Being humble, having humility, and ensuring that people need to be treated as people. is very important. So it has to be the core figure of my life that changes and makes me a better person, makes me want to make him proud, makes the only person I've ever wanted to impress is my father. So I always make sure that uh, every privilege should not be taken for granted.
Hmm.
You must work harder each day to ensure that you upkeep that privilege and position.
True.
So we are always the hardest people who are working in the room,
Hmm.
but also at the same time giving people the place to express their opinion, giving people the respect to voice their concerns, their challenges, and be a better human.
Wonderful. So, any message or anything that you want to share with our viewers of Navabharat and
I want to
Navarashtra?
congratulate Navbharat for this illustrious institution to come forward and extend their arms throughout India and, of course, internationally in the times to come as well. Such kind of institutions are crucial not just for influence but also for encouraging young minds to come up and take responsible positions in media. So I congratulate all of you, the Navbharat family, and thank you very much. It has been a privilege to interact with you. It is a humble honor for me to interact with Navbharat. And namaste to each and every one of you from my side.
It was totally a pleasure, and I learned a lot from you, I must say. So, our esteemed guest today was such a phenomenally wonderful lady, a beauty with brains, and where we can see her few years down the line only we'll be seeing, and we wish you all the very best and want to see you on much bigger positions professionally, and of course in your personal lives too.
Thank you. Thank you very
So,
much. Thank you very much. I
all the
appreciate
best
it.
wishes
Thank
from
you.
Navbharat family too. सो दोस्तों, इस तरह के लोगों से, इस तरह की शख्सियतों से मिलने के लिए आप हमारा नवभारत का चैनल जरूर सब्सक्राइब कीजिए, इसको देखते रहिए, और आपके जो भी कमेंट्स होंगे, जो सुझाव होंगे, वो कमेंट्स बॉक्स में जरूर डालिएगा। हम आपको इस तरह के इंस्पायरिंग लोगों से मिलाते रहेंगे। नमस्ते।